So you're doing some 10 pulls on the current banner, and while you don't get a 5-star, you do get 4-star Thoma. Now, what do you get with Thoma besides the second best Maid in all of Genshin? Well, Thoma is a polearm wielding pyro user who's actually really good at Burgeon. And in this video, we are going to look at the basics of Thoma, how his kit works, how to play him in some teams, and all of that fun stuff. Now, like we do in every one of these videos, we're going to look at the current build of the current character that we are using. Forewarning, my Thoma is not built whatsoever. So let's go see what we've got. Okay, so my Thoma is level 20 out of 40 with 8,800 HP and 762 EM. I did take my 4-piece Flowers of Paradise Lost off of Cookie for this. 111 ER, the crit split we're not too super worried about. He is running a level 20 Kit Tying Cross Spear, which is the craftable weapon in Inazuma. For artifacts, like I said, he is running 4-piece Flowers of Paradise Lost, which is my Cookie, or not my Cookie, my Coco's set. He is C3. His talents are 1-4-1. Real quick, we're gonna look at his passives. When your current character obtains or refreshes his shield, the character shield strength will be increased by 5%. So, and it can stack as well, meaning that you can get stronger and stronger shields, which works pretty well with how his shields work. His second passive, damage dealt from his burst, is increased based on his max HP. So if you're building him for a shield, then this will help increase the damage. Also, we're going to take a quick look at the constellations. C1, whenever a character protected by his shield, except for himself, is attacked, it will decrease the cooldown of his skill and his burst, which can be very, very good because his skill does have a long cooldown. C2, the duration of his burst lasts for 3 seconds longer, which is really good. C3 is a normal one. C4, after using his burst, 15 energy will be restored to Thoma, which is great because he does need some energy. C5 is normal. C6, whenever his shield is refreshed, it increases normal plunging charge attack of your characters for by 15%. So this is going to be good just to kind of increase your on-field damage dealer. Even if you're using him in a Burgeon, this can be useful. It can be using him as a buff to your on-field character. So now we're going to look at how his normal attacks, his skill, and his burst works. So his normal attacks are going to be pretty normal. Oh, I'm moving the background. So his normal attacks are going to be pretty normal, nothing too special. I do like the animation though. They do look really good. His charge attack is going to be the corkscrew variant of a polearm charge attack. Now, his skill is where we start getting into his shield. If you use his skill, he is going to do an instance of pyro damage, forming a shield. Now, you will notice his cooldown on his shield is a long time, and his shield does not last for the full duration. That's why that constellation was really good about decreasing the cooldown of his skill and burst whenever a character that's not Thoma takes damage, or is on the field and gets hit whenever they have his shield, right? So this is going to be really, really good at helping decrease the cooldown of his shield. Outside of producing a shield, it doesn't do much. It's really just a way for you to get energy to Thoma, so that way he can use his burst, which is much better than his skill. So you're going to be using his skill every now and then, but it's not, it is a big part of his kit, but it's also not. The shield strength is based on his max HP. So if you want to build a shielder Thoma for like Arlecchino, which we'll talk more about that in his Artifact Grinding Hell video. Excuse you. Then you want to build HP on him. Now for his burst. Whenever he activates his burst, he's going to do another instance of pyro damage, and it's going to put these things, it's kind of like the shoulder pads on like a samurai suit, right? Around him. Whenever your character, even if it's not Thoma, does a normal attack, it is going to refresh the shield. It is going to produce the shield that his skill produces. Each time that you do a normal attack with your character, it is going to send out pyro damage and refresh the shield. That's what it is by refreshing, right? The passive that we read said something about refreshing the shield. When you do a normal attack while you have his burst active, it will refresh the shield. When it refreshes the shield, it will do another instance of pyro damage, and it can do it once every 1 second. Now, This makes Thoma really, really good for Burgeon. We'll talk more about why he's super good for Burgeon whenever we get into the next video. Just know that he is, and whenever I'm doing some stuff behind me, if you see him kind of in a full team and he's doing Burgeon, just know that he's really, really good at it. Now, his burst does work with any other character. If you use his burst and you swap to another character, that character still has the shield. They can still do the normal attacks. They can still refresh it. This can be a good shield for like Arlecchino, right? If you want a pyro shield, then you can do it with Arlecchino. Something else to remember too, whenever you use his burst, you don't have a shield immediately. You have to do a normal attack after to then get the shield. So do remember that if you use his shield and you're like about to take a big hit and you use his shield, if you don't do a normal attack, you're not gonna gain the actual shield. So real quick, we're gonna touch a little bit on his utility as a Burgeoner, right? So whenever Burgeon is not an easy reaction to use. It's not as easy as Hyper Bloom to use, and it works a little different while also working very similarly, or at least scaling similarly. I'm gonna make a whole video on that once I finish my move, so that way this mic isn't super echoey, right? I'm in a living room with 15-foot ceilings, that's why the mic is so echoey. So I'm gonna make a video comparing Hyper Bloom and Burgeon to each other once we get to our new place and I'm in a much more confined area with better sound quality, not as much echoey. That will be then, but I do wanna talk about a little bit of the Burgeon now. So if you are going to run a Burgeon team, you need to make sure that you have a lot of Hydro or Hydro and Cryo. The reason for that is if you have an enemy that is afflicted by Dendro, and they are hit with Pyro, it will cause burning, which can be difficult to override to produce blooms again. So you need to make sure that you're using somebody like Xingqiu or Yelan, somebody or multiple somebodies that produce a lot of Hydro to make the burning go away. Another option that you can do is you can have a character like Rosaria with off-field Cryo to also help take the burning away, right? Because if an enemy has burning on them and you hit them with Cryo, it will cause a melt reaction, resetting it to where you can then do blooms. So you do need to make sure that you're either running double Hydro or Cryo and Hydro, so that way you can essentially put out the fire, put out the burning Dendro, so you can produce blooms again before you start burgeoning those blooms. And if you have an off-field Cryo character like Rosaria, then her burst will actually be able to forward melt that burning if you get the burning. And because Cryo and Dendro don't have a reaction, it's not gonna hurt anything. So now for artifact set. And for early game, I'm gonna say 4-piece Instructor, especially if you're gonna be running a Burgeon Thoma, which you can do even early game because you get Hydro and Dendro characters for free. So with that being said, you want EM all across the board on Thoma. You want to get as much EM as possible. You want to make sure that your trigger, your pyro trigger, in this case Thoma for Burgeon, is as high a level as you can possibly get them, because it's one of the stats that it scales with, right? You want a high level pyro character and a lot of EM. So EM all across for main stats, that is going to be the best way to do it. The Instructor set, going to increase your Elemental Mastery more and give Elemental Mastery to your other characters as well. So it's going to be really, really good. For beginner weapons or early game weapons, you do have Kitaiin Cross Spear, which is the craftable Inazuma weapon, which is one of, if not his best weapons, especially for Burgeon. It's going to get up EM, and it's going to help get him some energy as well. If you do have something like Dragon's Bane is going to be great. If you're going to be running HP or Shield Thoma, then you're going to want to do like either Magical Girl Staff, even though he can't use the passive, he'll like the HP percent, or Black Tassel, again, HP percent, can't really use the passive. If you want something of not necessarily a hybrid build, but if you're like, man, I don't have enough ER on him, you can always run Favonius Lance. Now that is going to be it for this video. If you have any questions, do be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else, be sure to answer it, and I'll see you in the next one.